It's time for another podcast by George. Straight talk, straight from the heartland, that'll have you saying, "By George, I think he's got it." Now, here's George.
We're back at Drake University. I'm delighted to be here. It's Jason Bourne. That's the way I feel sometimes when I come back to the HQ here to kind of revisit my roots. I'm back in the studio where it started for me anyway, back in 1973, believe it or not. And I want to thank the Dean of Journalism, Kathleen Richardson, the Dean of the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at Drake University, for making this possible. Huge thing for Podcast by George, and I think it's a big thing for our artists in the hall tonight. Bob Pace and Kathryn Severing Fox. So a lot of people are familiar with Bob Pace because he's a local legend. He's in the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's in the Iowa Blues Hall of Fame. Everybody's seen Bob at one time or another. He's got his groupies and his fans. But the cool thing about it is now he's got a kind of a duet thing going. And I saw Bob and Kathryn play a couple of times. Oh, my God, we've got to get them on the podcast. We've got to revisit this. And the one song that they did that really, got to me, obviously, was Hero, What Makes a Hero. You've heard that song, the story of Jason Oglesby. Well, if we could do that at Drake University, it's got a journalism angle because the Pulitzer Prize winning photo, Mary Chen took that at the Des Moines Register. I mean, a Pulitzer, that's pretty big journalism stuff. And, the story itself is great, made for a great song. And then when Jason passed away 3 or 4 years ago, Kyle Munson with the Des Moines Register, the columnist, wrote this great story, and it was the genesis for me spinning off some lyrics, giving them to Bob, and doing this great song. Well, Kyle's with the Register. There's journalism there. We're in the School of Journalism. Let's do a podcast to bring everybody together and do this thing. So that's why we're here. That song will come up later. We'll get to that. But let's go ahead and turn to the music now and get started with Bob Pace and Kathryn Severing Fox.
Times in her rock and roll, she just loves to hear the blues guitar. It really does something for her heart, really sets her soul on fire. She's a real blues woman, that's right, and you'll find her here on Friday night. She might dance if the band is tight, hot funk or soul. Turns her on like a light, really makes her feel alright. When she walks into the room, they all light up. Everybody wants to drink from her loving cup. Her smile is like sweets in a sugar bowl. She's a guitar girl, don't you know? She's a real blues woman for sure. But she's down and out, the blues is her cure. There ain't no chance she gonna go out with you unless you can dance or play the guitar too, 'cause that's a real blues woman for you. little country smile. It's like sweets in a sugar bowl. She's a guitar girl, don't you know? She's a real blues woman for sure. Well, she's down and out, the blues is no cure and no chance. She gonna go out with you unless you can dance or play the guitar too, 'cause that's a real blues woman for you. That's a real blues woman for you. That's a real blues woman for you.
Thank you.
That's really good. Now that's off the most recent Bob Pace CD, right? That's on the disc.
Yes,
Oh, when are you going to do another CD? Everybody asks you that.
I'm
Come on,
working
Bob.
on it.
It's been, that came out, what, 4 years ago, maybe 5?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so that's great.
I really am working on one. I'm just still doing a little bit more writing. For every 10 songs I write, I throw about 9 of those away.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, I think that keeps your quality up a little bit of what you're doing. And if you really think it's good, chances are your radar is good, and it probably is a good song.
And you want to do them. I mean, some folks
Yeah.
just say to hell with it. There's no point in doing CDs. Recorded music isn't what it used to be. It's all live, and that's where the venues are at, and that's where the money is. But you're still doing CDs.
CDs are tactile. It's something you can give to people. Here, give me money, I give you CD. And it's something they can take home. They can look at the liner notes. You can sign them. They're kind of like greeting cards. It's just a personal approach. We're all headed to that age where it's going to be all those little thumb drives. But, hey, here's a thumb drive. For my ear, that just doesn't really do it for anybody.
Yeah. And you've kind of got a song about that, too. Well, before we get, to the next song, tell us how you two got together.
Go ahead.
Let's see. It was Tim Hammett. Am I saying his name? Okay, good. He came up to me at a Carl's Jam and said, "Hey, I'd really love for you to come sit in with the Delta Keys at Ambrose Roadhouse," which I think was that like 3 weeks ago? About that. And I was like, yeah, geez, okay. I knew some of the people playing in the band. It was like a no-brainer. I had heard actually from numerous people about Bob and his playing, and I was like, oh, geez, great. And now I get to go hopefully not make a fool of myself playing with him. I don't know, it just ended up being really fun. We did some trading, and then he gave up at one point when we were soloing, which was cool. He let me win, which was fun.
No, she beat me. She beat me fair and square.
And then afterward, he's like, oh, yes, I'm hearing some Grappelli stuff. I'm like, oh, cool, we're going to talk about jazz at some point then. That's awesome. But he mentioned that they do the gas lamp thing every Friday and said if I want to come in and sit with the band for a couple tunes, I could do that. And I actually had forgotten that conversation happened until Friday morning, the day that I went and sat in with them. I was like, man, I think that he said I could sit in with his band, so I guess I'll go try that. So I drove up to Gaslamp, and he was like, oh, yeah, come on. And so he threw me every single genre possible, 5 tunes in a row. Didn't even tell me we were going to do Orange Blossom Special, just started doing it, it's always great to do that to a fiddle player. But then, he ended up contacting me and saying, hey, you want to do a duo thing with me? I was at Ducktail that you asked me about doing. And then we got the opportunity to do Greenwood, actually, pretty much the same night that he had asked me about doing a gig that weekend. So that's the whole story. Sorry that was long, but that's our story.
Okay.
Sticking to it. This is one of my favorites, and I hope you guys don't get too tired of it, but I love John Prine, and I think I can speak for both of us. You love John Prine?
Sure.
I love John Prine.
A little more enthusiasm, please.
I know what John Prine drinks. He drinks vodka and ginger ale, and it's called a Handsome Johnny.
Well, that's cool.
Is that a joke or is it real?
No, that's straight up. That's a true story. Don't ask me why I know that, but Yeah, John Prine. Yeah, he drinks Handsome Johnny's.
Great. Nice segue.
Vodka and ginger ale.
So this is, is it okay to go?
Yeah, you're great.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, great. This is Angel from Montgomery. Can we stop for a second?
We can fix anything in post, yeah.
That really sucks.
Is that the key you wanted?
I guess.
We're all the way down. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Somebody punky me back here. Who can tune my guitar?
We tune because we care.
All right, sorry. I am an old woman named after my mother, and my child is another one who's grown old. If dreams were thunder, lightning was desire, this old house would burn down such a long time ago. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to. Believing this living's just a hard way to go. Was a young girl, I had me a cowboy. Wasn't that much to look at, just a free-raned man. But that was a long time, and no matter how hard I tried, years they just seem to go on by like some broken down dam. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of no rodeo. Just give me one thing, Lord, that I can hold on to. Believing this living's just a hard way to go. Flies in the kitchen, I can hear them buzzing. I ain't done nothing since I woke up today. How the hell can a person go to work every morning and come home in the evening and have nothing to say? Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of the old rodeo. Just give me one thing, Lord, that I can hold on to. Believing this living's just a hard way to go.
living's just a hard way to go. Believing this living's just a hard way to go. Oh, believing this living is just a hard way to go. Kathryn Fox.
Great stuff. Okay, so I got to tell my one Drake journalism music story. This goes back to 1975. I'm in a sociology class in this building. And I made some friends with some guys in the back of the room, and I'm always sitting in the back of the room. And we had to put on a presentation, had to do a big deal, big thing for the grade. And we decided to have D'Artagnan Brown come and play before the class. And Kathleen's nodding her head, she knows him, and I know Eddie knows D'Artagnan Brown, Alex knows him. I mean, this guy, great musician, was with the band Chase, Bob knows him. He's a bass player, mostly. I mean, he does a lot of different things, but he's known for playing the bass. And he was accomplished at the time. He was just, really getting kind of famous locally. So Dart came into the classroom to play as part of our presentation. And the way that we put it onto the class was, we're going to take a break. We're not going to have presentations today. We're just going to listen to some music. And maybe some of you have heard of D'Artagnan Brown, and he's an interpretive saxophone player. He's really got something going with the saxophone, and we want you to listen to it. And all the kids are sitting there watching, and Dart comes in, and he's all decked out in his road gear. I mean, he's looking good, and gets up there and breaks out a saxophone case and gets it out. Well, D'Artagnan Brown had never played the saxophone before. He'd never wet the reed on a saxophone. Nobody knew it but us. I mean, we're sitting in the back of the room trying to hold the laughter. And he got up there, and just like you or I or anybody, this great musician played this saxophone. It sounded like he was killing a goose. I mean, honest to God, and he just went on and on, trying to get some noise to come out of the saxophone. He had no idea what the hell he was doing. And so he did this for about 20 minutes or so. I mean, it almost got like, oh my God, I can't stand this. We've got to stop this, And so then when it was over with, we polled the class and said, all right, so what do you think of this new innovative interpretive form of saxophone playing brought to you by D'Artagnan Brown? They all filled out their individual slips in private. And then we got them, gathered them up. And every single student thought it was great. Thought it was wonderful. The emotion, the feeling that came through with it. I mean, just, oh my God, it was horrible. But it was a great sociology experiment, because then the question was, after we revealed what the deal was, why did you say that? I mean, is it because you're a bunch of 20-year-old white kids from the Chicago suburbs, which mostly they were, and Dart's black? Is it because you don't know anything about music? I mean, we're not trying to be mean to them or anything, but I mean, just ask yourself, why did you say that? Did you just not want to offend the presenters? I mean, because it was what we put on? And so it was the only A+ I ever got at Drake Cat. But it was, and Dart, the journalism mix in there, and Kyle knows this. He worked at the Des Moines Register for a while. I mean, he became, as well as a musician, he was a journalist for a while. So that's journalism and music mixed from 1975, and I'm the only guy in the world probably that would remember or be able to tell the story, but there it is. I wanted to get that in there. D'Artagnan Brown. So no bass player, and we got no cowbell, but we got a guitar and a couple of microphones and a dynamite violin. So Bob and Kathryn, back with another song.
This is one about just bitching about being older. Probably some of you have heard it. This is called New Old World Blues.
Well, it's a new old world now, baby. It's getting harder to find my way. Smartphones, laptops, and twerking, tweets and Kanye. It's a new old world now, honey, and I don't think I understand. This high tech is just making a wreck out of this old man. I don't understand this hip-hop. Rapping doesn't do it for me. Well, I'm just a child of the 70s, and pretty soon that's the age I'll be. Good loving was all I ever thought about, every night and every day. Now when the show is done, I get more excited about a sandwich from Subway. Well, it's a new old world now, baby, and I don't think I understand. Smartphones, laptops, and selfies, tweets and Kardashians. It's a new old world now, honey. It's getting harder to find my way. Well, this high tech is just making a wreck out of me these days. I used to trip out like Timothy Leary. I could turn on and party all night. Now I'm as straight as the kids on Big Bang Theory, and I use the clapper on my life. Thank you. Well, it's a new old world now, baby. Don't think I understand. Smartphones, laptops, selfies, tweets and Kardashians, Bruce Jenner. It's a new old world now, honey. It's harder to find my way. But this high tech is just making a wreck out of me these days. I've reached the age where I know a thing or two. That's what the blue pill commercial says. Or the two bathtubs. 4 hours would be a true miracle and probably give me cardiac arrest. But it's a new old world now, baby. Getting harder to find my way. Smartphones, laptops, twerking, tweets and Kanye. It's a new old world now, honey, and I don't think I understand. This high tech is just making a wreck out of this old man. Well, this high tech is just making a wreck out of this old man. I don't understand hip-hop, twerking, computers, iPads, Tinder, Tumblr, Tweeter, Tanker. I can't operate a toaster. Too many buttons.
That sounds a lot of fun. You can tell that's in Kathryn's wheelhouse. And it's just what I think when I hear a song like, well, because...
The lyrics, or...?
No, not the lyrics, but the music. People see Bob Pace and I think, God, he's a great rock guy. I mean, you come down to the Gas Lamp on Fridays. Yeah, he's up there doing Jimi Hendrix. Well, a lot of people think of Bob Pace as a great blues guy. A lot of people used to think of Bob Pace as a great country musician in this town. I mean, he played country for a lot of years, Bob. Out at the, what's that East Side place?
I don't know.
Oh my God! They closed it down eventually. It was what we used to call that a blood bucket or a killing floor out there. They had so many fights. But Kathryn's music is really not any of those. What you normally play is bluegrass or a little bit country, or how would you describe it?
I don't know. To be honest, I like everything. I find it very interesting to play in every genre and learn how to adapt my sound and licks to each one. But I tend to be more of like a gypsy jazz player. Do you guys know what gypsy jazz is? Ever heard of like Grappelli, Stefan Grappelli? He's like my idol. Django type stuff. But also Western swing, which is kind of a mix of country and jazz. So
Western swing, is that Bob Wills?
Yeah.
That's
my-
I know.
that's
I know
my
Django,
wheelhouse.
but that other person, I don't know that. Well, who's that?
Oh, Stefan Grappelli?
Yeah.
He's like the most well-known jazz fiddle player, basically. Did a lot of Django type gypsy jazz stuff. So
He was one of Django's guitar fiddle partners
yeah.
for quite a while.
Well, I'd write it down, but I don't think I can. I can't
Yeah,
pronounce it
It's a
either.
crazy name.
Yeah. So what's next?
I don't know. Speaking of gypsy jazz, let's
Well-
do some jazzy thing.
Which one do you want to do?
I don't care. How about Lady Be Good?
All right. Okay.
This is instrumental, so there won't be a lot of words.
No worries.
I mentioned at the beginning that we've got that cordless microphone. So and sometimes I'm sitting in the audience and somebody's playing and I want to ask a question and you can't do it. Well, you can on a podcast by George. So just wave your hand and Mary will get that microphone over to you and ask you, or get you an opportunity to ask a question. I got to ask a question about the violin. I was thinking about it while you were playing. They don't make the strings out of catgut, do they? I mean, is that, or did they used to, or where did that ever come from, catgut?
Actually, I used to have viola strings that were gut strings. I don't think I knew that they were catgut.
Has anybody else heard that? Okay.
Okay.
All right, yeah.
They were gut strings. I guess I never thought about what that meant,
Bob, you know you're a gut guy.
to be honest.
I have a cat,
Yeah, I don't even like to think about it.
I have two cats.
so I really don't want to think about it too much, actually. I'll never look at Fluffy the same.
You know what I'll say about them, though? The gut strings did have a richness to them that I can't get from non-gut strings. And it especially was important on a viola, that I found that it was a huge difference in sound.
So a viola, what's a viola?
Oh, sorry. The bigger version of this thing sounds lower. The strings are, 3 of them are the same, but instead of having an E string on the top, we have a C string on the
Play another one. It's always a solution. Play another song.
This is one of my favorites because it depresses people. Why should I be alone?
You're so uplifting.
I'm not tuning. This is just a new form of music. Wait, that's too high. These aren't cat gut, by the way.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. It's not warm when she's away. There ain't no sunshine when she's gone. She's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away, I wonder this time when she's gone. I wonder if she's gone to stay. There ain't no sunshine when she's gone. She's always gone too long. Time she goes away. I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. I sunshine when she's gone. She's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away. Anytime she goes away. Anytime she goes away. Anytime she goes away.
I got to ask this question. I asked this on the podcast of my other guests, particularly the athletes and the hockey players that I talked to. I said, how much of that are you born with, and how much of that is acquired? I mean, for people that are looking at that. So, Bob, I mean, you've been doing this for a while. I mean, you're very good. How much of that was assimilated? I mean, how much of that was experience, and how much of it was something that's just innate?
I think I'm going to get a little esoterical here for a minute. I think that your maker, your creator, your higher power gives you something, if you're lucky, gives you something that'll get you through life. An innate talent of some sort, or at least an affinity for something, if not the outright talent. And I was fortunate at an early age to figure out pretty much where I wanted to go. And I always say to my kids and anybody who wants to listen to me, if it wasn't for music, I'd still be at McDonald's. Hash and fries or something. It was one thing I was really good at, and fortunately for me, it was music. And it came not easy. I had to work really hard at it, but every time I worked hard, I got a reward from it.
And Kathryn, you're on that track. I heard you say, you told somebody when we came in here that music is it for you. I mean, that's what you're devoted to. That's your life.
Yeah. I mean, I started piano when I was 4, and my dad was teaching me how to harmonize at like 2 or 3, and I realized in 6th grade, because of course everyone realizes in 6th grade what they want to do for the rest of their life. I was like, gosh, guys, I have to do music for my career. Both my parents are musicians, so it wasn't like crazy for them to hear that. It was terrifying probably, because it's not an easy road, to be totally fair. It's a lot of work.
It's a piece of cake.
It's a lot of work, and you have to really want it. And I've paid my dues and continue to do that.
And you guys are really good. Now, I play hockey. I play men's league hockey. Ask my wife. I play a lot. I practice a lot. It's important to me. I suck. I mean, and I always will. So I got talent, but I just can't find it. So like Bob said, he kind of thinks that like maybe it was there for him and he came upon it, but I don't know why that's, but I mean, I listen to you guys, I'm just dumbfounded. I mean, I'm amazed because I'm working at hockey every day just as hard as you're working at music. It ain't happening. It just ain't there. But my slap shot's better than his guitar playing. But
No contest. I wouldn't even want to try. Really?
Yeah.
No, I agree with what you're saying in part, but also when I first met you, I never would have thought that you were doing what you're doing right now. I wouldn't have noticed your voice to be that. But as soon as you get in front of a microphone, your voice becomes that guy that we're all familiar with on the radio. A person that we trust the voice, and it's the kind of voice that you want to hear on the radio. Doing anything. I mean, I'd rather hear you do the news than Topo Gigio or,
Well, I got to tell this real quick little story. Bob and I go to WHO, my alma mater radio station. We're doing Hero, actually. And we walk into the control room there, and the guy, Van Harden, takes one, and he knows we're coming in there to promote that song. He takes one look at me and Bob, and he says, "You guys look like Simon and Garfunkel."
Which one am I?
And I got to tell you, for Van Harden, because I know Van Harden, I thought that was really quick-witted. I mean, that's a great story. He's Simon, I'm Garfunkel. That's what I'd like it to be anyway. All right, roll on. Oh, so a question. Anybody got something they want to ask? I mean, it makes the podcast better if people,
What?
You get to
I don't need a microphone.
No, I need it for the podcast, Gene. Just make sure it's on the recording.
Are we going to get a sample of your bluegrass talents?
Bluegrass.
Sure.
Okay. Sure.
You're talking about hers, not mine. Okay. Yeah.
First now.
I got a bluegrass.
Can we not do the predictable? What's the one that we did at Greenwood? Yeah, I forget what that was.
Oh, I got it like rolling up the guitar.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, let's do that.
Oh,
Is
that
okay?
one, sure.
Is that okay?
Where were you last Saturday night when I was down in jail? You were out doing the town with a dirty old who would not even know my bail. I'm rolling in my sweet baby's arms, rolling in my sweet baby's arms. I'm gonna lay around the shack till the mail truck comes back, rolling in my sweet baby's arms. My mama was a beauty operator. My sister, she could weave and spin. Well, my daddy owned an interest in an old cotton mill. He was watching that money roll on in. I'm rolling in my sweet baby's arms, rolling in my sweet baby's arms. I'm gonna lay around the shack till the mail truck comes back, rolling in my sweet baby's arms. My mama was a beauty operator. Sister, she could weave and spin. My daddy owned an interest in an old cotton mill. He was watching that money roll on in. I'm rolling in my sweet baby's arms. I'm rolling in my sweet baby's arms. Gonna lay around the shack till the mail train comes back, rolling in my sweet baby's arms. Gonna lay around the shack till the mail train comes back. I'll be rolling in my sweet baby, rolling in my sweet baby, rolling in my sweet baby's arms.
And that, but time's getting away from us, believe it or not. We got about 15 more minutes to go here before we reach our schedule.
Okay.
And I mentioned at the top that we were going to talk a little bit about what makes a hero, and we've got Kyle Munson in the house, and I want to get Kyle up on the stage and get that cordless microphone for him because he's a big part of this story. And Bob plays a song at the gas lamp, and he gets me up there every once in a while to kind of tell the story a little bit, but the guy that really knows the story is Kyle. I'll start it off a little bit by giving you my basic understanding of what happened. Jason Goldsby, the construction worker, is working on a pedestrian bridge in the Des Moines River about 10 years ago. And he's doing the high work up there, and he's got a vest to secure him while he's working up there. And a woman and her husband are in a small boat scouting out a place to watch the 4th of July fireworks, believe it or not. They just got the boat. They didn't really know what they were doing. I think they would have been the first ones to tell you that. They were going to take their grandkids with them. My God, what a tragedy that would have been. They had plans to take 5 grandkids, I think, out in the boat with them, but they didn't make the trip. It was just the 2 of them. They got too close to that Lowhead Dam that you've probably seen if you've been over there, and they went in, and the chop and the turbulence is unbelievable, and her husband drowned. And the woman was about to drown. She had a life vest on, but I mean, nothing was going to last forever. The turbulence was horrific. And the fire and rescue guys had made an attempt as much as they could to get her out of there, and they couldn't do it without going in themselves. I mean, there just was no solution to it. And these construction guys are watching it from the pedestrian bridge. And Jason Oglesby volunteered to be connected to a crane and dangled out over the water and grabbed this woman. And Mary Chin with the Des Moines Register snapped a photo. There was some video rolling as well, but it went worldwide. I mean, viral. It was huge. She won a Pulitzer for it. And I thought at the time, my God, this is the most heroic thing locally I've ever seen, because the way I put it to people, and some people take it the wrong way. I mean, I like firemen and I like policemen and all that type of, but those guys are paid to do that. If there's something going on like that and they turn around and go the other way, or they look the other way, hell, they ought to be, fired. They ought to be put in jail or something like that. That's their job. That's what they're expected to do. Not only that, but they're trained to do it. Well, here's a construction guy that did this, and I thought, I'm never going to forget this. I mean, it just made a huge impression on me. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, I pick up the Des Moines Register. Kyle's working there, and there's a column. This Superman, as I called him, Jason Oglesby, had passed away. And I read Kyle's column, and I gave Bob the lyrics, and he came up with this beautiful music, and the song has taken on a life of its own, and we're going to hear that. But I wanted Kyle to talk particularly about Oglesby and his life, and that wonderful column that you wrote about who this individual was, and then you'll really understand the song even better because of Jason's life.
Yeah. Well, no, thanks for letting me be here, and I appreciate you bringing all these artists together to have a conversation like this, and how Jason's story is kind of traveled on through the years, and you guys have this great song you're going to play about it. Now, I mean, you described, this was back in 2009 when the rescue happened, and you described the scene vividly, wonderfully. You can imagine, as this was playing out and it's going over the emergency scanners, all the media begin to respond. And so the interesting thing about why that one image became so important, we actually had photographers stationed on both sides of the river. Mary Chin was on one side, and another one of my colleagues, Andrea Melendez, was on the other. And so they were both shooting, but the shot that ends up winning the Pulitzer, it was part of the drama is, first of all, Jason's coming down on the crane. One of my predecessors, a columnist, Mark Hansen, who wrote about it at the time, he said, he's being called Indiana Jones in a life jacket, and he really was. And you see this powerful image of him reaching down, and the angle that Mary was shooting from, all you could see was Patty Ralph Neely's arm. You couldn't see her. It was just like the arm coming up out of the phone. And so that was part of what I think the whole world responded to, is that you had the drama of just how much on the brink she was at that point. And the other ingredient to the story was just how Jason acted afterward. I mean, he didn't go on the talk show circuit. He wasn't on the morning shows. He shunned the celebrity. He shunned the renown for the whole thing. One of his quotes was that, I'm not a hero because somebody died today. He felt bad for not being able to save Patty's husband. And so he has this moment, and then in 2010, Mary wins the Pulitzer, and there's more recognition. But again, it's not as if he was out there as a public figure. He wasn't developing his brand through that recognition, right? And then all these years later, I'm a columnist at the Des Moines Register. 2017, word comes that he has collapsed. He collapsed in Creston, where he was living at the time, and ends up dying in Des Moines. And then it comes to light about he had his struggles. He was trying to overcome drug addiction and so many different things, and that's why I ended up calling him a complicated hero, very real hero. And what you were saying before resonates with me too. Let's face it, people like, pick a category like university football coaches, they get a lot of ink, right? Yeah. There's a lot of words are spent on them talking about the heroism of the game and everything they do and scrutinizing every move they make. Nothing against those guys, those people, but here's somebody who I learned after he died and writing about him, who was such a quiet hero. And there were people that came out of the woodwork to talk about how they had helped he had helped them in small ways, day after day after day. People who had, were trying to bounce back after their own addictions. People who were trying to put their families back together. And there was a picture of him being a real advocate in their lives, even if he had his own struggles going on too.
I remember there was a woman you talked about in the column that had she ended up in jail herself for substances, and as oftentimes happens, tragically, her family turned their back on her. I mean, she was alone, didn't have anybody, and if you can imagine going to prison, number one, number two, visitation time, ain't nobody there, nobody's coming to see you. I mean, it makes that time go much slower for anyone. Jason went. She said he was the only guy that came.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He seemed to be a guy who had cultivated a lot of empathy, and he was, he was a generous spirit. He's a generous spirit, and raising up that sort of a personality and trying to pay tribute to that kind of a person was one of the most powerful things that I feel like I was able to do as a journalist. When you identify those people in the community, those neighbors, and you can kind of show that to the rest of the community, that's a powerful function of journalism, I think.
So anyway, I gave the lyrics to Bob, and Bob turned it into this song, and kudos to Kyle, because I mean it really came from his column. That was the blueprint for the song and for the lyrics, and it's what makes a hero.
I think that deserves some applause. What makes a hero if someone's drowning in the dam? The river was raging as he grabbed for her hand. He saved one life, he tried to save two, but the river it takes what it wants from you. He made it out, he could have fallen in. The river it took one back from him. He saved one life, he tried to save two. They call him a hero and I would too. Jason's gone, the monkey's off his back. No more pain, no needle tracks. Angels have their demons too. They might save a life, it might be you. And life is hard, it makes it so hard to be a hero and a hiding star. Jason's gone, but not his soul. The ones he saved would tell you so. Jason's gone, the monkey is off his back. No more pain, his soul's intact. Angels have their demons too. Save a life, it could be you.
soul. Once he's saved, he'll tell you so. Jason's gone, the monkey's off his back. No more pain, no needle track. Angels have their demons too. Might save a life, it could be you. Jason's gone, the monkey's off his back. No more pain, no needle tracks. 'Cause angels have their demons too. Oh, they might save a life. Might save a life. Might save a life. It could be you.
Oh, that's a beauty, Lee. It's going to be a tough one to follow. We're about out of time anyway. Again, any questions? Anybody want to? Yeah, go ahead, please. See if we get that microphone to work.
Yeah. Oh, I just had to follow up. So the East Side Country Bars in Des Moines you were talking about, was that Toad Holler?
I remember Toad Holler. That's on the southeast side, which was Fat Albert's before that, and that was like the double deuce roadhouse. No, it was the Plantation, which was what I was thinking.
Oh,
Yeah.
It became the Sagebrush.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
played there like 7 years, 7 nights a week.
and I mean,
I have stories, but that's another podcast.
there were country, there were cowboys that went out there with their girls to dance, and there were cowboys that went out there to fight. And if you if you didn't have a woman with you, I mean, you would better be looking for an exit, because somebody would want to partner with you with a fist. Yeah.
And I had to ask one more D'Artagnan Brown connection.
Yeah.
So if I read the schedule correctly on the room when I was walking in, there was a Beatles class that preceded the podcast recording.
Is that right?
And I think, if I'm remembering this correctly, D'Artagnan Brown was a crucial link in spreading the rumor that Paul was dead. Because he was a student here at Drake, and the rumor had its genesis, I think, around the Chicago Metro, but then the student newspaper here was the crucial step in publicizing that to the world, that the Beatles' Paul is dead rumor. So one more D'Artagnan Brown story.
Yeah, put Drake on the map, and the student newspaper too. I mean, that was a big part of that. Yeah, D'Artagnan Brown. Man, he can't play a saxophone, I don't think. He was with the band Chase. Anybody remember Chase?
Absolutely.
Yeah, get it on. Man, they were great. They were like going to be the next Chicago. And another one of those tragic plane wrecks took out Bill Chase, the head of the band. My God, don't get in this. Bob, you don't ride in small planes, do you?
No, I do not. I get airsick on a thick rug.
Good idea.
Can I say one thing before we go?
Oh, please, please.
I'm going to speak for you, and you can tell me to shut up. Kathryn and I only met about a month ago, and we played a few shows together, and it's a lot of fun for me, and I hope it is for you. But we're looking for work, so out there in podcast and video land, hire us.
Yeah, well, you can't go wrong. And I mean, this podcast is evidence of that. What great music. Well, I don't want to end with me talking. I'd rather end with music. So.
Well, I think all we can go out with is the older woman song.
Well, I got myself a situation. I'll tell you all what it is. Got myself in a situation. Tell you all what it is. I call it some kind of addiction. Ain't nothing that I wanna feel. Well, I never still does when they're around. I said, good looking older women, don't be the death of me. Good looking older women, gonna be the death of me. They can put a smile on my face, honey, that can light up a city street. Yeah. Fever, I just can't help it, and I don't know how to cool it down. Got a fever, I just can't help it, I don't know how to cool it down. Well, it burned the first time I felt it, still does when they're around. I said, good looking older women, don't be the death of me. Good looking older women, don't be the death of me. Put a smile on my face, honey, that can light up a city street. I said, good looking older women. I said, good looking older women. That's all I'm gonna say about that. My age, I better not say nothing about younger women. Would be a little creepy, don't you know? With the Me Too movement, I might get sued or misconstrued.
Back there running the video for us, and lastly I want to thank my talented and gifted and beautiful wife Mary Clark for helping out here and married 30 years. If you don't say stuff like that, you don't get to be married 30 years, so that's how that works. Yeah, so that's great. Thanks everybody, really appreciate it. We'll be back again soon. I hope to do this a lot. And for right now though, that's going to wrap it up. That's another podcast. Bye, George.